Okay, so I'm on my way to the gym in the car. Promise this is completely safe. Yeah, so I think a lot of the time I want to make these videos, but the reason I haven't made them so far, and part of the kind of problems being that I don't really have the time a lot of the time. So yeah, a theme that may run in some of these videos is that I'm making them whenever I basically can. So there might be some variations with the cameras and the microphones, because I'm kind of testing different things, like I'm filming on a GoPro right now. It's not something I would normally use that much, a different microphone to what I did in the first video, but I'm just kind of like testing to see what works really, because I have no idea. First of all, on my way to the gym, so that's something that is quite important to me. If I go back 3 years ago, when I kind of made the decision to get more into filmmaking and photography, I was going to the gym a lot. We're talking 4, 5, 6 times a week. The year before that, I'd been training to do a marathon and done a marathon. Not that I'd ever been a runner before, but that's something I did, and that was because, and at that point when I did the marathon, I felt amazing, both physically and mentally. And that's the thing, because I need something to focus on, something for not only my mind to focus on, but like physically to focus on. And at that point in my life, I was fed up with work, like I've already said, and I didn't have the film and photography thing. And that's why the film and photography thing has kind of become so important, because basically when I was marathon training, I had something to focus on, and I had something to do, basically, that gave me a purpose and gave me a lot of pleasure really. So now I've got the film and photography. There's two points I'm trying to make really in relation to this. The first one is I'm getting back into exercise, like in a big way. I need to. My health is not where it wants to be. My health and fitness is not where it wants to be, and that's going to kind of formulate part of the videos that I'll make. Is like a bit of a side thing, because I think that, healthy body, healthy mind is it's very true, and I've got way off track with that. Okay, so the main purpose of this video is to talk about creativity and what creativity is, because I think, and this is what I used to think, I think people can think being creative, being a creative person, creating things, or creativity, they can think that is like being an artist, in like the typical what you would expect kind of sense. Painting or drawing, a musician. But something I've realised is that creativity is actually inside you, or you're either a really creative type person or you're not. It doesn't mean that you can draw or you can do something particularly artistic. It means that you've got a particular type of brain that's always looking for something new, something different, or you like to figure out how to do something, or you like to make something look amazing. It doesn't have to be typically artistic. I'll give you some examples. I've got a friend who, he's a landscape gardener, and he creates amazing looking gardens. He is a very creative person. Would he say he was a creative person? Would he say he was, creative? I don't know, and I'm not sure he would. Another example would be, I've got a friend who's a joiner, and that guy he makes things out of wood. That's what a joiner does. But he builds, like he built my mum a staircase. Rather than getting one off the shelf and putting it together, he built it out of reclaimed wood, and it looks really rustic, and it's so one of a kind. He's a creative person. In my previous job, for a long time I was banging my head against a brick wall because I felt like I was one of the only people that worked there that was always looking for innovation and trying to come up with new ways of doing things, trying to make improvements, just looking at things in a different way. Not just kind of accepting things the way they are, but wanting them to be better or wanting to see what else could be done. I found that very frustrating because it wasn't an environment, and I'll talk about my old job another time, but it wasn't an environment that kind of allowed for creativity.
I don't know why that's funny.
Every day it's Halloween, huh? Michael Myers, Jamie Lee, huh? Freddy Krueger in your dreams, huh? Load up clips and make a scene, huh? They putting lies on the screen, black and gold, everything. We going crazy, we jump around like Marines. We rage against the machine, nigga, we the kings.
Yeah, so that whole kind of not feeling creative and having that creative frustration is what, in the end, forced me to actually do something about it, which was to kind of look at what I really enjoyed doing, look at what made me feel creative, and to leave my job and become something else. So the reason I'm talking about it is because you might not think that you're a creative person, but if you're the sort of person that likes to innovate in your job or at home, maybe you like cooking, maybe you like gardening, maybe you just kind of like building dens with the kids, but a lot of these things would indicate that you are a creative person. And if you're a creative person, then you probably need to feel fulfilled in your job in a creative way, and that might be, management. It might be that you are actually doing a creative type role at work. You might be involved in organisational change, or you might be a project manager. But yeah, I feel like you don't have to think you're not a creative person just because you can't draw or you're not a musician or a dancer. Because I didn't think I was a creative person, and I realise now that I am, and I just needed to figure out what it was that was my outlet. So I think kind of the point I'm making is I don't really believe that creativity is something that you produce or the physical action of making something. I think it's a mindset. I think it's a way of thinking. If you are a creative person, you don't think in a transactional way. You don't just do as you're told or accept things for the way that they are. You're constantly trying to think of how you could do something differently or of doing something differently. So that could be like changing roles at work or looking for a new job, taking on projects outside of work. It could be renovating a house. I did a house renovation a few years ago. We totally, took a bungalow and peeled it back to like a shell and kind of built it back up from scratch. And I absolutely loved doing that. And it's something I had no experience in. I'd never done it before. And it was one of the best experiences I've ever had. It was a lot of work, but it was so much fun. And I realised that the reason I loved doing it so much was because it allowed me to be creative, to think creatively. And that's the main point I wanted to make here, is because if you'd have said to me, a few years ago, if you'd have said, are you a creative person? There's no way I would have said yes, because I didn't do anything. I have, family members. My brother's a musician. My sister, she's an artist. I've grown up in a family full of creators and creatives. And to me, I'd never fit to that definition of what a creative is or what I thought one was. But then now I can see everything that I've ever done and the way that I've lived my life was in a way that fit being a creative person, a creative thinker. And, the fact that now I'm a photographer and a filmmaker and a videographer, and I'm, making most of my living at the moment from doing kind of wedding films and doing films for businesses, just because I'm doing that, that's actually, a byproduct. I'm doing that because it's my creative outlet and it's allowing me to earn money to live. But it's not the ultimate kind of wrap of what I am as a creative person. You could give me anything to do and I would want to do it in a creative way. So don't feel that whatever it is you're doing, just because it doesn't fit the mold of being an artist or whatever you thought a creative person was, doesn't mean you're not a creative person. And that's kind of everything I wanted to sort of say today. So I'm not going to kind of go crazy yet because I know no one will be watching, but if you did watch this video and you thought it's okay, please kind of subscribe to the channel, like the video. I'd love you to put some comments if anybody has watched this. I'd love you to put some comments sort of explaining what you think a creative person is, and if you're doing something creative but it's not something that fits the normal stereotype of a creative, please tell me what it is. Let's share kind of our experiences with each other. Thanks a lot. See you later.